Welcome back to Resilience+RISE podcast, the space where we excavate the extraordinary from the heart of challenge. I'm your host, Thomas Carrier, and if you're feeling the pull towards a deeper purpose, a more impactful legacy beyond the peaks that you have already conquered, you're in the right space. Because just like the 26.2 transformative miles I explored in this book, life's most significant chapters often begin where we dare to define our finish line. And this book, yes, it is available to buy. Today, I am excited to get a human, a wonderful human. Remember the word I said is that a deeper purpose, something going more than what you have already conquered. I would love to introduce you to Shelley and Vidal. She is a president and founder of ACT, which stands for Affirming Community Together. Shelley is an author, she's an educator, she's a fertility coach, and a career coach who comes from a family of entrepreneurs. Shelley has been in this space for more than a decade. Shelley, I've just known her in the recent past, but one thing which just came up so wonderfully was her passion in supporting others, whether it's in the area of education, activism, or career and business coaching. Shelley, as I've known, is a lifelong learner and a knowledge seeker. She talks a lot about intercultural leadership, intercultural communication, social justice, anti racism, and most importantly, as I just started with, getting the communities together. So, with this, Shelley, welcome to Resilience+RISE, the podcast.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
So, let's start with a simple question. I would like to say, who are you? But not thinking about anything else, who are you?
That's such a broad question because when we say, "Who are you?" I am my mother's daughter. I am my father's daughter. I am my grandparents' grandchild. I am their wildest dreams of all my ancestors who came before me. I am my daughter's mother. I am my brother's and sister's sister. I am my cousin's cousin. I am my student's teacher. I am my client's coach. I'm so many things to so many different
Beautiful,
people.
beautiful.
Um,
So,
yeah.
when we talk about, I don't say the word how you are defined, but what you have been working towards, whether it is getting the communities together, whether you want to get your voice heard. And guys, I mentioned about a writer. She has written a fantastic book, which I will ask her to talk about. But when you come across these parameters, so there are times wherein I say is that our purpose comes from our deepest of wounds, could be, or the shine of the light always comes from the darkest of our spaces or the wounds also. So you have been talking about communities, you have been talking about being compassionate, you have been talking about getting things together. How did you evolve into that persona?
Beautiful question. As someone who grew up in the greater Vancouver area, my parents have always instilled the importance of community involvement, community engagement. So, whether it be us volunteering as kids at the Trinidad and Tobago Cultural Festival that they had every summer, whether it was us volunteering for the Western Canada Summer Games, or volunteering as a candy striper in the hospital while I was in high school, in college, being a part of a local radio station in Philadelphia, the beat where we were volunteering to increase awareness and advocacy for health awareness because of health disparities, or libraries that were closed in urban areas. It was just something that was part of my civic duty,
Hmm.
because that's what I saw growing up. And so it was only natural for me to continue in this journey of being involved in the community and giving back to community in different ways, and understanding that community is what we make of it.
Hmm.
Some folks focus on just their family, their nuclear family. Some folks don't even have a for whatever reasons, their nuclear family may not be a healthy situation, or is fragmented, so they create um, community and create family, and they go hand in hand.
Okay.
Right? So for me, it was not really a large leap. It was just part of the fabric of growing up, and natural steps to take as
Evolution.
I walk through this world. Yes.
So here, Shelley, I would say that there are many of the people that I've known. They also go through this somewhat of the same type of. Yes, they've been a volunteer. They have been involved, whether it was in the school or the parents told them to get into some activities which was their faith-based or community-based environment. But there are very far and few who continue to be evolved with the beat in their heart
Mhm.
for what brought them joy when they were growing up, when they were doing something. It could be a joy or it could be something otherwise also. It depends on how you look at it because some of the people may have not been fortunate to be in an environment where they were asked to do and things did not work out well. But again, coming back to you, Shelley, is that you continued, you evolved in that space.
Yeah, I would say for me it was a no-brainer, because I when I went off to university, and I was an international student in the US, it was through community that I found family.
Okay.
And again, I didn't make a conscious decision of like, oh, I'm going to go out there and find community. I knew there was value in internships, in terms of just meeting different people. And because I was new to the area, it was a new country to me, a new space for me. I didn't know people. How was I going to meet people? Yes, I could be in classes, but outside of classes, how else was I going to meet people? And what I quickly rediscovered was it was being in and choosing to be involved in different communities that I found family. I found people who had similar alignments, whether it was giving back to community or similar tastes in music or whatever it was. And that filled my cup. It filled my cup, because when we talk about the importance of supporting people's mental health, particularly in the North American context, we understand that in this day and age with technology, many people get so caught up in online that they lose the connection of real life people. And
Wonderful.
and that isolation that exists often when they're online, or um the kind of that false narrative that I've got a community and it's like through strictly social media, sometimes for some people, it's that, yeah, I've got a community, but are they really there? Like, if you broke a leg, are they going to come there and, help you, get you, a meal or anything like that? I don't know. For some people, maybe, but for me, that was never the case with like people on social media so much, right? You can have all the friends and followers, but do they really, really know you?
True.
Right? And so that's where I personally needed real interactions with real people, who really understood what was going on in my life and who we could support one another.
Wonderful. And how has that evolved? to the persona that you are currently, or the space that you are in?
Well, knowing what community has given me, I've wanted to give it back to others.
Okay.
That sense of empowerment, that sense of normalcy, where people don't feel like they're alone and isolated. It does something to your spirit. It lifts your spirit. And the other thing that is so important about it, when we sit together and we break bread and we are working on a unified cause, we get to know one another for who we really are. And we begin to break down the walls and the barriers of that other that we don't necessarily know. So we automatically are creating stronger communities and a better society, which then results in a better world.
Beautiful. And I think I must have mentioned to you when we had met for the session when we had gone together. For because I believe is that two of my main philosophies is that number one, there are no strangers, only friends we have not met. Yes, and the second one is we all are angels with one wing. When we hold another, that's when we start flying higher. And we do not realize the power of community, how powerful, how grounding, how it can evolve us to where from where we are to where we are. But when we talk about community, what comes up again as when I talk about this, one of the elements that comes out is that in today's world we have become so, one of the words which you use is nuclear. We do not want to show our vulnerability to others. We don't want to show our hurting. We just want to show or how are we keeping up with the Joneses. We only want to show the glitz and the shine. We do not want to show the tarnish and the grime and the dirt. So, how do you work through maybe people because you're a coach also? So, what are the elements that you do to get them to be more open? That hey, I'm a friend.
Well, it's funny because I remember about 20 years ago, I was a field interviewer for a book. And some of the feedback I received was that I was able to build a natural rapport with folks very quickly. Maybe it's my friendly demeanor. I don't know. Maybe it's my smiliness. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just creating space to allow people to share.
That's wonderful. I mean, I can if you're asking me as a check mark, I would check mark all the as above, all of the above, because I met you in person, and that's when I realized that there's a beautiful persona behind that everything, which is just out to help and be of service. There was a word that you used, and suddenly my brain went into that. The book. You have written a book which has been kind of a page turner for many, and something that tells that, whoa, something that I can think about. Want to say about that?
Yes, my book is You Only Need One Good Egg Manifesting a Miracle. This book is about my journey to motherhood. I am a solo parent and I decided that I wanted to try to have a child on my own. And I was successful. My daughter is now almost 4. And I chose to write this book because I wanted to have documented for my daughter as she gets older and when she's a young adult. I wanted her to understand why I made the choices that I made to bring her into the world. And it was a very conscious decision, and how loved she is. and how much I loved her and wanted to bring her into the world. I also wanted to write this book because I know that there are people who are going through fertility challenges and what that carries, and whether it is the person that's going to be carrying the child or family members that are supporting that person carrying the child. It could be a lot. It can be a lot. And so it gave me, it was an opportunity for people to say, like, I see you, you're not alone. I've gone through that journey, and to hopefully sprinkle seeds of hope for folks. Mhm.
And yes, again, for me as a writer, writing it together, it's profound. And let's take to the next level wherein you have already been a published author. When people come to you who have gone through reading the book, what is their feelings about how this book has impacted them?
Well, some folks have said, thank you so much. It shed light into things that they didn't know they should do for themselves. Or again, giving them a sense of hope and possibility that maybe they weren't receiving from maybe their doctor or from family or from the internet, right? So, you know, those are some of the things I've heard, and it takes people on a bit of a emotional roller coaster, laughter, tears of joy, some bits of sadness, and just the full gamut, the whole roller coaster. Um, yeah, it's meant to be a book of encouragement, hope, and possibilities.
Fantastic. And guys, I will be putting out Shelley's links about her and the book in the comments below. So if this conversation has hit some of the recesses within you and you want to explore further, please feel free to look into these links. Or otherwise, actually, you can reach out to Shelley, as you would have known, a wonderful human. So currently, you are in a space wherein you're a daughter, you're a mother, you are a coach, you are a trainer, you are a community builder, you are a relationship helper, among just saying few of them. How do you manage it?
How do I manage it? That's a
Or
great
how
question.
do you juggle all these particular
I,
different
I don't do it in an easy way. I do not do it in an easy way. I drop balls regularly, and that's okay. I had a message from a friend last night, and it was probably about 10:30 at night, and she had messaged me, and I got up this morning and I saw her message. I said, I was done. I was exhausted. I went to bed early last night. Your message came and it left. I'm like, I just didn't have any more, gasoline in the engine. And that's okay, because I think it's important to listen to our bodies and what they're telling us, and to rest when we need to rest. Um, I think there's this false belief that we can achieve complete balance, and I don't know
Mhm.
if that exists. I think there are going to be times where I'm juggling a little bit more and times where I'm juggling a little bit less. I'm going to drop a ball here and I'm going to have to pick it right back up. Or maybe I leave it down for a little while, and that's okay, right? It's just going back to my core values, and then looking at the priorities. What's the most important priority for me in this moment, in this day, in this week, in this month, in this year, right? And there are times where a priority may not be to wash the dishes at night, and that's okay. I'll deal with it in the morning. The priority might be ensuring that, I get my training material ready and ready to roll out and do whatever for a speaking engagement or a training session, and that might take precedence, and that's okay. The other thing that's, again, going back to the beginning of our conversation, which is community. I can't do this alone, and nor do I pretend to do it alone. It's about looking at who's in my community to support me in different areas, whether it's supporting with childcare, whether it's supporting with just decompressing on the phone. Who's a part of my community to help me nourish my soul, my mental health, my physical health? Who's in there to help me keep going forward so that I can do the good work that I do in the world?
Super. Actually, that would have been my next question, is that what do you do when you're overwhelmed? And I think so you just replied. So, in the space that you are, and what I've heard is that there is a lot of vulnerability which is required, because you mentioned a very important word saying that it's okay. So, how has your experience being vulnerable?
Oh, vulnerability. That's a great question. When I was in college, I had an instructor in my drama class, Mr. McDade. He was awesome. And he said to me, Shelley, he was an Irishman. And he said, Shelley, you could really be good at this if you would just learn to be more vulnerable. And I didn't quite get it at that point. I didn't understand what he really meant. I think part of my cultural background that I was navigating and learning at a young age in my early 20s was that idea of children should be seen and not heard, and trying to figure out when it was okay to give my voice and not give my voice. When was it okay to speak up and when should I not? And again, I think part of the conditioning based on some of the jobs I held was, what does it mean to be quote unquote professional? And when you're quote unquote professional in this North American culture, it's often viewed as you have to be stoic, no emotions, you leave your personal life at home, you don't bring it into the office, the two shall never meet. And that is not necessarily healthy to always compartmentalize. When you do that, people don't necessarily know how they can support you or what supports you need, or you're not being true to yourself and saying, like, this is what I need in order to best support my colleagues or whatever it is, or do the work that I need to do. And so in terms of vulnerability, to me, that was really like being who I really am, showing my true self, all the vibrant colors and all the vibrant ways, and my directness, and learning that not everybody can appreciate my directness. And what does that mean? And also being unapologetic, like learning how to navigate the world, learning how to be direct and kind at the same time, right? It's just a dance, and understanding that it's an evolution, right? Because how I was 20 years ago, 10 years ago in my directness is very different to how I am now. And I think having my daughter impacted how I engage with people, and it opened the door even wider in terms of my compassion towards humanity. I had more compassion for myself and a whole lot of more compassion for others, realizing that I don't necessarily know what they are going through before they step into that office space or that environment or that anything. I don't know what they're dealing with. And at the same time, understanding that I am still entitled to have my own boundaries, because somebody may come to me and just kind of blah with everything that they're going through, and
No,
I may not have the ability to receive everything. And I can let them know, you know what, unfortunately, I don't have time to get into that at the moment. However, maybe we can discuss it at a later date or a later time, this afternoon, tomorrow, whatever it is, right? So the boundaries are a big part, right? So I can bring my authentic self and have boundaries that allow me to uphold and do what I need to do, valuing my priorities for myself, my child, my family, etc. That's my long-winded answer.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So now we are just being mindful of the time. I will change the spotlight. Since you walked many paths, many roads, you have seen life in different ways rather than just being in that nuclear space or just going to work and coming back. If I ask your 2 cents about, I'm not talking about advice, but telling people is that suggestions that what could make them a better human or make them a better person or make them a strong resilience within themselves, what would you say?
I think the biggest two words that come up are compassion and grace. Compassion for themselves, compassion for others, giving themselves grace, giving others grace. Because when we don't achieve what we set out to achieve, when we set out to achieve it, if we give ourselves grace and understanding that, and understand that there is a lesson in there to learn. What is a lesson I'm here to learn? And I think just having that shift in that mindset can allow us to look at things a little differently and really explore it in a way that might be a glass half full rather than why did it happen to me? Right? It's like, going back to what we were saying, why did it happen for me? Or this happened for me, and what, I'm curious, like, what did I have to learn from it? What am I supposed to gain from this experience? Because again, life is a journey of experiences. And I think of, much like you're talking about in your book, the marathon, I've heard the analogy of bus stops as well.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's a resting point or a water break spot or a bus stop, when we take that pause and we look around, what are we receiving?
Beautiful. Fantastic. That was beautiful. So, guys, we just had a beautiful conversation, or I had a beautiful conversation with Shelley. Over here, what we saw and heard was a compassionate leader who approaches life with kindness, with compassion, an open mind, and curiosity. The way Shelley has opened herself up in being a lifelong learner and a knowledge seeker, whether it is in community, whether it's about writing a book, or whether it is about being a coach, learning about, as I mentioned initially, intercultural leadership, intercultural communication, the justice what she requires to bring across to different communities. There has been a lot of different areas wherein Shelley has been working through. If any of these elements touches you, I do request, do reach out to her. Put out a question. She may or she may not be able to answer it, but for sure she will direct you where you could get a response to. So with this, Shadi, I take this time and space to say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to go through this conversation